Andrews, live from Los Angeles.
Coming up on NBA Today, the Thunder, they got the dub, but did it cost them J-Dub? Shams is here to help us unpack the latest injury to Jalen Williams. Plus, new reporting on the statuses of Wemby, Luka, Austin Reeves. Ramona Shelburne is here with everything you need to know ahead of tomorrow's pivotal Game 3s. And how about in the college ranks? Not anymore. AJ Dubbanza officially heading to the league. Is he the next franchise-altering star? Our college basketball experts are here to break it all down. NBA Today starts right now. We do begin our show with our top story. Victor Wembanyama, he suffered a concussion during the second quarter of Tuesday's Game 2 loss to the Blazers. This is the play right here. He was placed in concussion protocol. He did not return to this game. Now remember, the NBA has a minimum 48-hour period before the players can return to full activity, and Game 3, that is tomorrow in Portland. But we did get some positive news that Wemby is actually traveling with the team. So our senior insider, Shams Charania, he reported that earlier today. Shams, I know we got a lot of injuries to get to today, but I'm hoping we can start with some good signs here for Victor. What do we know?
Malika, this is very positive development for the Spurs and for Victor Wembanyama. Not only is he traveling with the team for Games 3 and Games 4 in Portland this weekend, but today he was present at practice and he was seen rebounding, shooting some light, doing some light activity, shooting some short-range shots. And I'm told late Wednesday, Victor Wembanyama also participated in cardio workouts because his symptoms did not worsen. And throughout all of this, he has to clear multiple neurological exams per day, which he has up to this point. But whether he's able to clear protocol in time for Friday's Game 3, that's obviously up in the air, very much in jeopardy overall, just from a timing perspective. But the Spurs are expecting to have a better understanding here tonight. And remember, Malika, in all this, the team doctor as well as a league third-party concussion protocol director are all involved in terms of whether he will be cleared and when that point will come.
Yeah, and very important because concussions, as we know, they can be very, very serious. But the fact, Shams, that he did get on the plane, that maybe tells me that there is some optimism that either for Game 3 or for Game 4, they're hoping he's going to be able to go. Thank you for that insight. I mentioned we got a lot of injuries to get to, so please do not go too far. As we welcome you inside our Los Angeles studios, I'm with a couple of seniors today. That is a senior writer in Ramona Shelburne, a senior front office insider in Bobby Marks. Ramona, you were actually there. Yeah. You were in the arena when Victor went down. It was really scary to watch on television. Yeah. How did it reverberate around the team?
You know, I think when we're in the arena, I don't think a lot of the fans realized how serious it was because the way he fell, he kind of put his hands down and then his head onto his hands, and then he popped back up. I mean, you know, there was the one step where he stumbled a little bit, but then he ran off the court into the locker room, and you just saw this guy. You know, everybody knew he was hurt, but I don't think you saw the extent of the injury unless you were watching on television and saw that he actually lost consciousness for a little bit there. And I think the team might have realized as they were standing there, but then he popped back up, and that signaled to everyone, this is a man who wants to play, wants to get right back out there on the court.
I think the one, I wrote it down here, what Shams said, symptoms did not worsen. And I think when we look at it, it's almost like an hour by hour leading up to this game. Having a son who had a concussion in an athletic activity, you're kind of based on the hour. Yeah. As far as what's going to happen, is he okay? And then you basically deal with it leading up until the night of the game. Fortunately for them, they played on. They had
last night that we saw the Suns. They hung around. Well, at least for the first half, right, against the defending champions. 3 minutes into the first quarter is where we begin. Watch SGA closely here because he drives to the basket, but he lands a little awkwardly, Ramona, on that left hand. And as you can see here, he's bracing himself. He's bending his fingers, grimacing in pain.
Yeah, I didn't like how that looked, and then we all had to watch and see how he came through it because usually that's a tough injury right there.
Yeah, he was able to continue to play here. 5 minutes left here in the second. SGA still in, knocks down the jumper over Dylan Brooks. He had some words that came after this.
He was just doing his usual antics, and then I squared on him, and yeah, I let him hear it a little bit.
That's just a part of the game,
though. Canada, man. You know?
SGA passes up the court with J-Dub, misses the layup, but appears this could be costly. To be hurt on the basket, aggravating that left hamstring. He checks out of the game, and he would not return. More on that in just a little bit, but we got more game to go. Midway through the fourth quarter, SGA drives. Once again, Bobby, past Dylan Brooks. hits the jump.
Well, they just come at you in waves. As soon as Phoenix gets a little bit closer, that lead gets to beyond double digits.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when really things started to balloon out of hand here. SGA gets cornered, but Brooks, the foul is called. SGA's on the ground. Again, he's holding that same hand, something to keep an eye on. Brooks kind of gets a piece of it as he tries to swat the ball away. He thinks it's a flopping call, but his complaints were not heard. A minute later, SGA has the ball up top, passes it to Lou Dort. You know he can knock that down. The story of this game was the injuries. Here's SGA on the importance of J-Dub.
We have guys coming in and out the lineup all year. We've played with so many lineups that it seemed pretty seamless. Now, Dub is one of our better players, obviously one of the better players in the league. For us to reach the mountaintop, we're going to need him. But, yeah, all we can do is play next man up. And we built that muscle throughout the season pretty well, so I'm super confident in this team to be able to go and get the job done no matter who's out there.
You seem to hurt your finger in the first quarter, your fingers. How do you feel right now with that?
I'm great. Ready to go.
Yeah, I believe him. I believe that great. Okay, the Thunder, though, they have a slightly better record in games without J-Dub this season. OKC went 18-1, right, in its first 19 games of the year while he recovered from that wrist surgery. But in the 30 games he missed later with the hamstring, OKC went 21-9. Still, though, I think that's a little bit deceiving. They need J-Dub in the lineup. Shams, as promised, we got a lot of injuries to go through today. So what do we know at this point about Jalen's status?
Like I'm told, J-Dub is undergoing an MRI today on that left hamstring. There's obvious concern when it comes to the hamstring, and this is the opposite hamstring that J-Dub injured multiple times during the season, missed significant periods of time over the course of the year. And so we know the Thunder's history is always being cautious, especially with a soft tissue injury like this one. My understanding is the Thunder will know more later today and then tomorrow as far as his status is concerned.
And you can see he immediately checks himself out of that game. Shams, thank you. We'll certainly check in with you tomorrow when we know more. Bobby, though, if J-Dub is to miss time, I think it's easy to say they're taking care of business against the Suns. When do you think that this team is really going to feel it?
Well, no disrespect to the Lakers or the Rockets, who would be their opponents in round two, but I think it would be a Western Conference Finals just based on whether it be Denver, Minnesota, Portland, or even San Antonio, of course, here. I think when you look at the body of work this year, they're 15-0 when Jalen doesn't start and you replace him with Case and Wallace in that starting lineup. So there is such a long body of work there as far as plug and play. But I do think, I mean, the playoffs are showing us is a bout of attrition as far as getting through day to day here. But I do think conference finals is where I would be concerned if he's not back in a lineup.
Well, they wouldn't have won the championship without him last year.
Right, that game five.
At game 5. And I don't know if they can win it again without him this year. But let's just see how he comes through this injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And it did look, I'm hoping that this is minor, maybe something that's more like grade 1. Again, they have to finish out this series against the Suns, but they are taking care of business, at least so far. So injuries, that's part 1, right, of the story of this game. I think part 2 is that the Suns, they were not happy with the officiating last night. Devin Booker, he took particular offense to this play right here, right? He was called for a tech after he was trying to save the ball out of bounds, but there's definitely a little bit of confusion on who exactly the technical was meant for. But let's just let Booker explain this in his own words.
In my 11 years, I haven't called a ref out by name, but James was terrible tonight, through and through. It's bad for the sport, bad for the integrity of the sport. You know, people are going to start viewing this as a WWE, you know, if they're not held responsible. I haven't won a championship in this league, but I have been in it for 11 years now. So to get to this point, to be treated like that, for me to even be saying something out loud, it's bad.